How's it going, everyone? Derek from Make Media Studios, and this week I have a really special guest with me. I got Darin Cooper. He's an actor from down in LA. I met him through San Jose State doing some productions we did during our film course there, and we worked on Breakfast last summer.
Yes.
How's it going, Darin?
It's going great, man. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. No, I mean, thank you for doing this. It means a lot. I had to get the courage up to ask you to be on my podcast.
Come on. No way, buddy. We're all in this together. We're all fighting a good fight, you know.
I thought it was really cool because I got to work with you, and then me and my wife, Ford versus Ferrari came out, and I saw that you were going to be in it, and then I went there to see it, and I was like, oh, it's Darin, it's right there, and I was like, that's so cool.
Trust me, it was really cool on my end of it too. Yeah.
I just wanted to go over. Do you want to tell me some of your history, just so people know where you came from, where you're at?
Yeah.
Maybe just a small thing.
So I grew up in a very, very, very small town in western Kansas, called Oakley. And I think at that time it was about 3,600 people, and now I think it's probably about 1,400. So it's a super small town, and I thought it would be the greatest thing ever if I could just get out of there. And so I did, and went to college, and I was invited to go to college for something that I was good at, but I didn't necessarily want to do, which was graphic design.
All right.
Back then, nobody knew what graphic design was, so I didn't. I'm like, oh, well, I want to be a comic book artist. That's what I want to do.
Okay.
My guidance counselor's like, hey, man, go. No. You'll never make any money at that. Come over here to this thing. It's called graphic design. I went, sounds great. What is it?
Yeah, exactly. So I read that you became a freelancer. You were doing freelance graphic design after college, right?
Well, actually, while I was in college, I came out here on a spring break to LA, and I had one connection that was in the advertising world, and she hooked me up with this gal who sent me jobs, and I was making back then. It took me maybe 4 hours, and I was getting like $300. And this is like this is like 1987, and I'm like, dude, this is awesome, you know?
Yeah.
And then when I came out here to do it, I realized it wasn't the life for me. Just wasn't built for the inside, man. You know, you're a filmmaker.
So I went in the Navy. I don't know my little background. I went in the Navy. I was an electronics technician for 6 years. So I worked on radios and radars. And I was like going towards an electrical engineering degree because I thought that's what I wanted. And I got accepted to San Jose State as an electrical engineer. But then I took a year, kind of worked a little bit, realized I didn't like the craft, and I was like, I was making films with my friends on the side and using my camera and stuff, and I realized, man, I should just go to film school. So
yeah, exactly. But you had to do that to find out that wasn't for you. You know, you kind of have to fumble through, I think, in a few things in your life before you go, well, that's not what I want to do.
It's all about making. Exactly. You want to make yourself happy. You want to be happy in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And being on set, that's like my happy place. Like it's awesome when you're on a full set with a full team going and everything's working like that big machine. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, it's there's nothing like it for sure. I equate it to like theater, you know, when everybody's got the, you know, it's opening night, you got the wardrobe people, you got the stage manager, you got everybody running around and you know, it's like, okay, 2 minutes, you know, and you're like, 2 minutes. It's the same thing. It's just a family, and you're thrust together and to make this creative like bowl of you know, some massive recipe where it takes every one of you to make that meal, and you're all in it. You're thrust in it together, and you're forced to become a family. And you know, sometimes you don't really operate too well. You know, we have those family members. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, theater. I've never been a part of theater myself, but I bet it's really cool to do that live, all as a team in front of the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. But one of the things about film that I had to learn, as you did too, is that theater is this big space, and you have this giant proscenium. But in film, especially in a close-up, if your proscenium's this, one eyebrow raise is huge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's all in the eyes.
And you cannot BS. If you BS at all, man, camera catches it. Director might not catch it. Nobody might. You might not catch it, but the camera knows. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah,
it's a fun. It's so cool. Like when I get on set and I'm filming with some people, and I'm behind the camera, and like one of my friends one of my friend Daniel does these lines and gets those goosebumps on my arm. Yeah. When I see it and I feel it, I'm like, "Ooh, that was a good one." Like he got that just right, and you can feel that.
You feel it. You feel it. Everybody feels it.
Right.
Everybody that's the sound guy, the director, everybody looking at the monitors, the actors. You know when it's all blazing, when all guns are firing.
Yeah. Yep. Wow. I was gonna ask you about some of your like craziest sets you've been on. Because like I feel like you've been on some wild, just to throw it out there. So like David Fincher sets. Yeah. I mean, you've been on a couple of those. I saw. Then there's the Ford versus Ferrari, and there's even go back Star Trek. I mean that looks pretty cool. So what was awesome. You got any cool stories for set life? What do you got?
Oh my gosh! Well, there's so many of them. I remember I was doing this HBO movie with John Frankenheimer. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's an Academy Award-winning big director from the 70s who is now passed on. But he did the original Manchurian Candidate.
Oh, okay.
So we were doing this movie for HBO back in 2001. And Alec Baldwin and I were throwing a football back and forth.
Wow.
30 yards away, and we decided we were feeling pretty good, so we'd stretch it out another 40 yards away. This was at lunchtime.
Okay.
I remember he had me go, and I got the ball, and I'm like, wow, I'm a long way away. Well, I think I can get it to him. And I remember just heaving it as hard as I could. And the ball, instead of going to Alec, who was in between a bunch of trailers, the ball starts to curve and hits John Frankenheimer's trailer at lunchtime.
Oh, okay.
But the guy was almost 80 at the time. I mean, he was probably taking a nap. God bless him. Bang! The ball hits the thing. And Alec Baldwin, especially if you know his younger work, he was a force to reckon with. I mean, you wouldn't think he would be terrified of anybody.
Yeah.
The ball hits Frankenheimer's trailer, and he kind of ducks down like a little teenager, and he starts to run away. And I just started laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh, Alec Baldwin's running away so he won't get in trouble.
Did you follow suit? Were you there to go run with Alec? Or
well, the ball was over by him at that point, and I just kind of turned and looked the other direction. But
turned and just went back to whatever else you could find near you.
Exactly.
That's really cool. I know, just like when you're on a set, like it just feels like everyone's like a small family, right? And everyone just gets along real well, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the other things about Baldwin. I was like asking about his teachers, but he turned it right around to me. He's like, well, what about, who do you study with?
Right.
Oh, I think I've heard of him. Or, it was just really cool stuff.
It makes that feel like that's someone that knows how to really communicate with people well, right? And like, when I'm always learning that, right? I'm trying to get better at that with doing these podcasts and stuff like that. But it's like definitely that ability to keep a conversation and also make the person not feel. You want to talk to them about what they're doing, and and like kind of make them feel good,
So Derek, what are you doing?
Well, I just graduated San Jose State.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Here in the COVID that's going on, so it's very interesting. Had a Zoom graduation. I'm doing a lot of corporate right now. I do corporate videography.
Okay.
So I have a couple contracts with an energy company here in the Bay Area. I just went up to Eureka, California, and filmed like 5 hours of educational content for electrifying your home. So, so I'm doing that. And so it's just kind of like I'm the small director because it's me and a guy that does his presentations, and I'm just kind of walking him through it and putting him in front of a camera, and it's fun.
That's cool. Good stuff, man.
What are you working on right now?
It's like you said, this quarantine, COVID, stay at home and all that stuff is it kind of put the stopper on everything. So I was looking up to see what Mangold was doing, since I'd worked with him. I was looking up to see what David Fincher was doing, and so I'm just I'm researching what they're working on. Like I think Mangold's doing. Well, I don't think he's doing a movie in the future called The Force by an author named Don Winslow. And I went out and I bought. I didn't buy the book. I got the book from the library and read the whole thing. It was a pretty fat book, and it was like, okay, well, this character would be good for me, or I could play this part here. And I just decided to put them all on tape. I actually transcribed the scenes from the book into like screenplay format, and then I auditioned them like it was an audition tape. Now, if I ever send it to him, I don't know. But for me, it was like just doing some work, just doing something creative, and because acting is so much like playing tennis or golf or anything. If you're not doing it all the time, you get really rusty. You can get self-conscious, all that stuff, and. So if you can keep the wheels greased, then when I do walk into the next audition or film or whatever, then it'll just be
it flows.
Easy. Yeah.
I agree with that. I did once where I went I feel like 4 or 5 months without really messing with my camera. It was like a year ago, and I filmed a little short film with some friends, and I got on that set, and I was supposed to be director and cinematographer, and it was hard because I wasn't getting the shots I wanted, and I getting the coverage, right? Getting the two shot and the close ups and all that. I wasn't thinking about it correctly, and I remember looking back at all the footage and going, "Oh man, I wish I would have got this. Wish I would have got that."
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why I started this YouTube thing, because I've been making videos twice a week, filming with all my gear in my house, setting everything up, messing with my lighting, my cameras, and flexing that muscle, kind of like with the acting, like you're talking about.
Great. Well, it's funny. I've been doing a lot of research. Well, I love David Fincher, and he was kind enough to cast me in 2 different movies that he's done. But what I loved about him is when he was young, I don't even think he went to film school. I think he just loved shooting film. And his story, you can find it on YouTube, but he has this great story about how he got his start in music videos. And they basically started him out in like some little corner like janitor closet, he and like 2 of his friends, and they would go shoot these music videos for Madonna and all. But before Madonna and all them, it was like lesser known people. And then they're like, wow, this guy, he's pretty good. So then they gave him a bigger office, but his story is pretty fascinating. Started with nothing,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's it. And it's like so much of us, I don't know if you have any connections to the film business. Was it something? Do you? I mean, when you started, was your parents? Did you have any relationships with anybody in it? Yeah.
No, I met a guy when I was younger that worked on Jurassic Park. He did worked on the T-Rex, but he was more on the graphics side of the house. And other than that, no, I haven't really had any connections. I just kind of meeting people in my little world that I know, and meeting you and people just slowly. But I've only been doing this for 2 or 3 years, making films, stuff like that. So. Yeah. It's fun. Yeah. David Fincher, though, I really do like his work. And from the camera side of the house, like when the camera moves with the actor, like the actor just moves forward a little bit and leans in, or then he leans back and the camera follows. Because I heard he takes 80 takes or something like that to do. It depends on the shot. I mean, right. I think I was in a wardrobe fitting, and the costumers were in there with me, and the radio was on the table. Mm-hmm. And they're like, he's on take 60. Did you hear me? Take 60. So it's like, he's on take 60. I was like, take 60? I said, is it a big shot? And they're like, oh, yeah, there's 300 extras or something. I mean, it was a big to-do, Right. And when I was doing the Social Network, he was so... every little detail he's orchestrating. Yeah. Even to to the point of, okay, if you're in the film, I'm David, Derek, you or me. Okay. Derek, when you start this scene, I want you to start, before you talk, I want you looking over here. Now, nothing's here, but I want you to pretend in your mind that it's Zuckerberg's desk, and he's there, and you're looking at him, and I want you to look at him. And then as you start to speak, I want you to direct the rest of it over here to Andrew Garfield, his character. Yeah. And all that stuff, He sees it. He sees everything. He knows the cut that he wants, and it's great. I mean, I ran into a producer friend of his from his old propaganda music video days way back. Mm-hmm. And this was after I did both Social Network and Gone Girl.
and his name was Frank. And Frank goes, David knows everybody's job better than them. Mm-hmm. All of them. From hair, makeup, lighting, everything. He knows it all. Editing.
Right.
You'll never get anything past him. So he's this, and nothing is more important. One thing I learned on Gone Girl with Neil Patrick Harris and Rosamund Pike, who were just lovely, but he was his attention to nothing else matters other than the final product that we get. I don't care if you're tired. I don't care if you need a snack. We got to get this last shot.
Right.
I know you guys are tired. Doing it one more time. It was just there's no room for ego or anything. It's like they got to this. We're almost there. We're gonna get it.
He sees it. He sees that all the way through, and that's in him knowing all those different departments and knowing everything, and knowing that he needs to get it just right because he doesn't want to fix something in post, right? Or it's like he knows what he wants when he's making it, and I think that's got to be a great trait of a director right there, to know every single detail in his head. He's got a vision. He wants to get that into that cassette on that camera. Right.
And then one other thing he said in his interview was that listen, we spend millions of dollars getting the right set, getting the right cameras, getting the right lights, getting the right cast. He goes, why then would we go to a take and go action and then we got it, moving on? He goes, why would you do that to it? We've got the actors here. It's not about anything other than let's just play and maybe come up with something unique and maybe capture lightning in a bottle.
Exactly. Keep doing it until you see that spark, like those goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like kind of like I was saying.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. I've seen some. I was trying to go. Clint Eastwood as a director. I've read some stuff about him. He likes to do it kind of does he not even say action, right? He doesn't even just kind of rolls the camera and tells everyone to do their thing and just let them go with it, which is also an interesting way of directing.
Yeah, I actually did extra work on, I think it was $1 Million Baby or something.
Okay.
And it was one of those situations. He does this, he goes, okay, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, and you're like, wait, the cameras are rolling, everything's going. Like, it's just like,
huh?
Okay. The background actors are all moving already.
Yeah,
like, okay.
And nobody spoke louder than this. All the ADs had their little mics, and they're like going, okay, we're ready to go. Everybody ready? Okay, lock up the road. And ready. Okay, and it was just whisper. It's really amazing.
Is he also he has that demeanor too, right? The way he speaks.
Yeah.
So it's like everyone needs to mimic him to make
kind
sure
of
that we're all on the same audio level.
He's growling.
That's really cool. Your Ford versus Ferrari, that movie I really liked. The cars, all the scenes in that. Where did they film the racetrack scene where you were at? Where was that at?
Oh man! So the racetrack I was on in the very first race in the film historically took place at Willow Springs Racetrack, and that's where we shot it. So we actually the racetrack's no different than it was in the '60s. It's the same track, and it's out.
Where is that at?
It's like 14 miles north of Lancaster, off Interstate 14.
Okay.
And
that's just Central Valley right there on the other side of the Grapevine, pretty much, or is it
not
in the
even? No, it's like north of Magic Mountain and northeast of Magic Mountain. Yeah.
Oh.
It's just, it's like maybe 2.5 hours away from LA is all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how was that set? I mean, all those cars and everything.
It was phenomenal because they brought us up. They brought us up on a Friday for rehearsal only, and I'm like, wow. We're actually going to rehearse. I haven't rehearsed since theater. Nobody rehearses anymore. Not for a whole day. This was phenomenal. Wow. So, but the reason is the entire sideline, the spectators and the cars and the mechanics and everything faces one direction on the track. So Mangold had figured out, well, I'm going to shoot all the race stuff pointing that way, but everything else has to point this way. So why don't we do some kind of long steady cam shot, whatever, and that's how we started. Actually, it was all steady cam. But But it would start at the Airstream over here, where Matt Damon was asleep when Phil knocks on the door and wakes him up. And so we rehearsed. Okay, well, how are we going to get you guys out of the Airstream? Walk over here. Okay, this is where the reporters hit you. Which that scene was cut, by the way. I had another scene in the film that ended up not making it. And then we went past the reporters to, like, there was a hot dog stand and a little snack shack. He's like, okay, well, and Mangold the whole time is with his first AD, who was also one of the executive producers. I don't know if you knew that.
His first AD is also the executive?
Yes.
Wow.
Or maybe it's just I'm sorry, just. He was one of the producers as well. I don't
Got
think he might have been an executive producer. He has done that in the past. But the guy, first AD, he's there the whole day. He's screaming and yelling, we're ready to roll, And so I was shocked seeing this producer.
He enjoys being an AD.
He enjoys making movies, which is fantastic.
Being there in that action.
Totally. And anyway, so we rehearsed the whole thing where Damon wakes up, and then we get through the reporters to the snack shack to where the German and the Germans kind of approach him about getting Ken Miles to drive for him, and then to the whole Ken Miles where he's having it out with the SCCC guy or whatever.
Yeah.
That was a great scene. And then worked its way back to where it was Matt and I at the track and his stopwatch deal. Yeah. But we rehearsed, and Mangold, I feel like he knows his theater too, because the way he was talking, the way he was, talking to the actors, and the way he was like, this is the reveal here. I mean, I don't know. Who knows what his theater history is, but it was shot like a play. Our rehearsal was like a play.
He knew his staging for where he wanted everyone to come in and all that stuff, and that's really cool. I love those Steadicam shots like that where they're able to place everyone to come in at certain times and make it feel like you're walking through that whole area from the Airstream.
Yes, and there were 300 extras. 300 extras. There were 25 stuntmen. Those beautiful old cars, from the Porsches to the Vets to the the MK1, which is what Christian Bale was racing. But I mean, to orchestrate all of that was phenomenal. And you had, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 costumers out there running around with hats. They're like, okay, does this hat work on you? No, it doesn't work on you. Come over here, and hey, your shirt's all messed up. Let me, and they're dealing with 325 plus probably 15 actors. So, I mean, it's amazing. And it was really awesome. Cool. So we were there Friday rehearsing, sent us home, and we came back Sunday night, spent the night in Lancaster, and then they just drove us back and forth between Lancaster and the racetrack. 6 days in a row.
That's really cool.
It was awesome.
That was awesome. And then you got the premiere. I saw the premiere.
Yeah.
That was so. I mean, what's a premiere like? I mean, that's something I've seen on these small little sets and all that. But a premiere, that seems like a whole other world that I have no idea.
It's that part of that world when you're a kid. You're like, oh, that looks cool. I want to be there. I want to be there, Right. I want to be working with those guys, and I want to be in that movie, and I want to go to the Man's Chinese Theater, and I want to walk the red carpet, and I want to get in and see the film and go to the after party. I mean, I'm an old man now. I've been acting for 30 years. This is my first ever real premiere. And it was a blast. It was everything you thought it would be, I mean, talked to Matt Damon there, talked to Christian Bale.
You took a photo. You took a photo of
that. I was so fortunate to be a part of that film.
How long from when you filmed to going to the premiere? Because there's all that post production and actual release and all that. So I mean, what's that time frame?
Year and a half. So we shot in June and July.
Okay.
Of whatever year that was, 17.
Okay.
And then it premiered November 5th, I believe, in 2019. So it was like a year and a half. Yeah. But as an actor who only has 1 or 2 scenes, compared to the superstars, and you don't ever really think they're going to remember who you are. When you show up and go, "Hey, man, remember me?" Yeah. And I was very fortunate where they're like, and I actually said that. I go, "I'm in the movie too." Christian Bale, who I didn't have a scene with, and I only met him once or twice on the film anyway. He's like, I know, man. I remember you.
That's
like,
awesome.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks. No, that's so cool. And I mean, So just wanted to pick your brain on being in LA, and earlier you were saying you're reading books, doing screen tests, you're filming yourself and sending those to people. But when it's not this COVID stuff, I mean, you're using an agent, are you meeting people? How does that work to be finding the work to keep going?
Right. Those are all valid questions, and it's actually it's I think as an actor coming from anywhere else other than maybe born into the business, I think it can be pretty daunting. And I think the actor's perennial pursuit is, it's always like, well, I need to get an agent or I need to get a better agent, right?
Okay.
Because I know a lot of great actors who don't have any agents. And then it's about, okay, well, can they get me in to a Ford versus Ferrari? Can my agent that has selected me get me into a project that I want to be in? And a lot of the cases, if you're, new to town and not straight out of like Juilliard or something, I mean, it's a fight, And so, yes, I have agents, manager, all that stuff. And yeah.
Go ahead. What do you think is a little bit of a tip for someone maybe that's thinking about going to LA to start the acting world? What do you think is a tip for them?
I think what I did not do, and I would highly recommend doing, would be get into a great class. I know nobody wants to hear that, especially if they've already got their degree and stuff like that. It's like, well, I know how to act, but a great class will get you connected to people that are connected to people. Because really, I had an old manager who was phenomenal, Arnold Soloway. He was big in the 80s, and I got him at the end of the 90s and stuff, but he was like, acting class is it's the actor's underground. It's the actor's underground. You guys, you hear about projects, you have your friends, they're the one that help you get better agents. And the short answer would be get into a good class or a good improv, whether it's Groundlings or Second City or something like that. So
yeah, because that networking is really where it's at.
And
then
it's
still a lot of word of mouth.
Yes. Oh, it always will be. It's always going to be, they always say, oh, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's both. You have to know, you have to have your toolbox as an actor. Right. To know, okay, well, I know I have to cry in this scene. And the words aren't affecting me. Right. So what can I pull out of my little toolbox to get me to that emotional place, right? Right. So you have to know how you tick, right? So you have to have your tools, and then you have to be in a place where you're meeting people. Yep. And I'm not talking about going out and networking and rubbing elbows and getting into all the fancy places, because I've never done that. That never worked for me. I was more quiet, and I'd be just standing there with a drink in my hand and watching people. Oh, hey, nice to meet you. But some people can hobnob. That wasn't me. My connections have come from just being the best actor I can be, showing up and being consistently good, although sometimes, that still doesn't work, and letting the work speak for me, where it will take 10, 15 years. It took 14 years I got a pilot, Iron Man 3, and something else. A soap. A part on a soap. All in 1 year. But if I looked back at all the relationships that got me all three of those parts, they had started forming 15 years beforehand. Right. So
it really grows with the people that I agree. That's just kind of like me, like even when you said about going to the class, like the Navy paid for me to go to school. That's why I went. So I went to go to San Jose State to finish my degree. I met people, like my teachers and a few people that started getting me some corporate gigs, and I met people that way. And I know that I could probably, if I just stayed at home and played with my cameras, I can continue to learn. Sure. But it is that networking on the same, learning from other, meeting other people and working with them. Not so much, rubbing elbows at a party type of thing. And I'm the same way, by the way. When people that know me, I'm the loudest person in the room. I talk, I'm very social. But when I first meet people, I am kind of the quiet one. I'm quiet for that first moment. So it's hard for me to just get in there right away.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a thought. Yeah. What was I was going to say something to you about that. It'll come back to me. Sorry. What were you going to say?
No, I mean, you were just telling me tips about, acting and all that, and that's
Yes.
that's good.
Yes, it came to me.
Yeah.
When I said in the beginning, we're all in this together,
Yeah.
you can't do this career by yourself, as you know.
Right.
If let's say you're a DP and a director, but you're not a writer, well, you got to have somebody over here writing the script, right? And the thing is you can't do 5 or 6 projects in a given year of your own, usually, because you're kind of busy doing life, right?
Yeah.
But you have your buddy over here might have 2 or 3. This buddy over here might have 2 or 3. So, hey, Derek, I need you. Do you have time next week? We got to shoot this thing. He's like, actually, I do have time.
Yeah.
And it's all, and that's how it works all the way up.
Yep. Yeah, we got our group of friends here that we're doing this. We got this Forgotten World series, so it's like our Jurassic Park thing. We go out to Big Sur in the woods out there and film. So we're gonna do that here at the beginning of July. That's kind of my hobby. I go out and film my narrative style films with my friends as a hobby to kind of show what I can do as a cinematographer, but then to pay my bills, right? I'm doing my corporate stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm balancing both those worlds.
Great.
And it's working.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't decided about the whole moving to LA thing yet. I don't know if that has to happen. I don't know if it needs to. I don't know.
It's it's strange now because when I first came to town, it was either New York or LA.
Right.
Or Chicago if you kind of wanted to just do theater, not really film or anything like that necessarily. And now it's like you can be almost anywhere because like what we're doing now with this Zoom meeting, self-tapes are everything. I mean, this is my room that I self-tape in. You can tell by the color of the wall, So this is where I do all the self-tape auditions and stuff. And you can do that anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's so I don't know if you need to move to LA. I mean, if you're doing what you love to do now, why?
Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe I've watched like Roger Deakins is one of my favorite cinematographers, and his kind of startup. I read like his history and his he was doing some news stuff and news agency stuff, and then he moved into a little bit. Then he did like his first little short film, and then it grew and grew. So I'm thinking maybe as long as I'm still building and doing my corporate stuff, I consider that my news stuff. It'll take a couple years and then move on to the next thing, and maybe someone will hit me up for a short film that, wants me to fly somewhere for a month and film it or something, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think that's wise.
All right.
I would not recommend me coming the way I came.
All right, Darin, I think we're coming to the end here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you very much for coming on my podcast today.
Thanks for asking me, man. I've had a lot of fun.
It means a lot to me, hearing your stories and where you came from and what to do. I think this will help a lot of people out there to figure out, what can help them in this industry. And my earpiece keeps falling out. There we go. And they're feeding me lines right now.
You and Marlon Brando.
All right, Darin. Thank you very much. Everyone, this has been another Make Media podcast, and we are out.
Wait, stop. Look. There's more things that you can still do. Look, if you minimize whatever video you're currently watching of mine and you scroll down a little bit, there's going to be this red subscribe button. You know what you do? You click it. Check this out. Ready? Watch. It's crazy. It goes from red to gray. Right? Blew my mind. I want you to check to see if yours goes from red to gray. And I want you to leave a comment down below if it did. And that's about it. Now you're at the end of the video. Go on ahead and watch something else now.